they are still living there. And you would go there today, you would like to visit the house,
Yes,
but
I would.
you could come next time. You will be shocked because it's exactly as it was designed. We could connect it also to a time machine. You see, whether you walk in time through different moments in the day through the house, through materials of the house, the glass and the concrete. So the glass moves really literally inside the house, but that I sometimes you have an internal facade between the staircase and the living room so that they could actually see their kids coming home. They cannot real. This marks my whole career on architecture in a way because I still believe that architecture needs to be defined through its organizational principles. It's very interesting. It hangs a little bit up at a good cantilever where, let's say, it hangs over the landscape, and if you enter it from the lower part, then you come up. And that moment of coming up and then walking towards the living room, and that the landscape then, you know, opens up to you, that's a very spectacular moment of the way how you, in a way, step into the landscape through the house. And then the landscape goes in the house, all the geometrical changes in the ceiling and the volumes above it is is actually more integrated in the number 8 or the Möbius structure. It's giving you kaleidoscopic effect of a total experience of space time, as if you are in many times in the same time. We started off this dialogue about what new tools to bring for new architectural effects. Hey man,
Hey Dan, how you doing?
good.
Yes, yes, very good to see you again. I really wanted to speak about one particular project. I think the Möbius House is a perfect case study. And
Your interview, last interview week, was incredibly successfully read everywhere.
okay, great, thank you.
People loved it. Also in the because don't forget you know me longer. No, what was quite amazing is that a lot of people liked the interview because it gave a lot of new insights for them to know that I had this fascination for music and geometry and rhythm. And, I mean, a lot of things who came out who were for a lot of people quite new. And of course, don't forget most of the magazines or online platforms are quite commercial lately, so they want to know the
Yeah, it's a little bit superficial. And I want to find out a lot more. Even I think if we go back to in one of your earliest projects, one of your seminal projects, even more can come up. Yeah. So I have these questions. So this whole interview is about the Mobius house.
night.
And so, what were the circumstances under which you were approached to design this house?
Quite quite interesting, because the I had a family who interviewed, talked to several architects, like for instance also Rem Koolhaas. I think just had done the Erasmus Bridge, as it is, or I was published everywhere as the architect from the Erasmus Bridge. Uh, and the client was really keen to get to know me, and and they were doubting if they would go for an architect who would have experience of who would be young and create something really exciting new for them for the future of the house they wanted to get
So,
built in.
so this was not a competition. This was based on a few interviews. And why do you think they decided to go with you as opposed to, let's say, Remco House?
The client might other interpretations, but because everyone is having his own interpretation, so that would be important to mention because they might read the article. But listen, I I do believe that it had to do with the fact that I went to the location and that I studied it myself, and I studied the position of the sun the light and the what I call the four quadrants of the landscape in their um, and I had immediately ideas when I was on site, with my up to my trick that mm, when I'm on a location, then I can imagine quite clearly already how you could imagine that each part of the landscape, each hue of the landscape could be related to a particular room or living room or whatever. And they loved that so much that I was already in a way sketchy on the side. I think that was the main reason. Also, what I liked is that I wanted to know everything about the kids because uh, they had a family of 2 years old, 2 years old the daughters, and the kids were young and know how they wanted their rooms and where they would, you know, do, which part of the house would they occupy, etc. Or I asked them, do you have guests coming and do you need a guest? I had all they liked it that I wanted to understand their lifestyle. And that was something that I knew. Go with them into the clockwise activities of the morning, the day, morning, the afternoon, the evening, and the whole day. Because I immediately wanted to connect in particular type of organization related to um, this clockwise set of principles of how the family lived with each other.
So this idea came up very early, even when you were already discussed in the very beginning. And I just want to know in our recent interview, you said, I believe each project needs its mission, direction, and vision. All of this need to be combined with the brief of the clients. So, what was your client's brief? What was it like?
Oh, there's a very clean set of principles in that brief, and it was not really a long document, but they had some notes. I asked them also to write down some notes to me of things they thought of what would be good for the design of the house. And for them, what it was important that they would have their own working space. I mean, already in that time was quite advanced. So they said, no, no, we have our work, but we sometimes also do consultancy work. We need to have our own particular place to have the moment that we can sit apart from each other while we are at home with each other. So places a bit apart from each other when we have a working space. Then they ask very interesting things like, could you make sure that when the kids are older that we can still see them coming at home but don't hear them? Kind of this was a very funny question, and it's like, yeah, well, how do you mean? Yeah, we just see them coming up the stairs, but we don't hear them because so that we can do as if we don't know that they came home so late or whatever. Uh, so I mean, all these kind of very intimate topics, and they thought that being next to the landscape, that they could really live with this landscape and it could be bond them underneath, that the family would be, that they could live next to the trees, I guess. And that's what we literally did.
And even more than that, I read that the design brief was really, it was really, um, open for all kinds of interpretations on your side. So the brief challenged you to design. I read somewhere, it's a quote, a house that would be to design a house that would be recognized as a reference in terms of renewal of the architectural language. So this must be a dream for an architect to receive.
Yeah, they were very modern. They really hoped that they would get a house to be, what would, would it kind of, what would be practical and what would be very, very easy to live in, but in the same time revolutionary on the level of design.
And what were your intentions? And did they align with the intentions of the clients, and how was the collaboration?
Collaboration was fantastic because we became quite close over the years. Uh, we came out of the media world. I think incredible. He was a good businessman, but also very visionary. She also very very she had very powerful leadership qualities, and also next to that also a fantastic mother. As he's also a fantastic father. So they were quite an amazing team, and the reason why we got along so well, because we could also not only talk about the house, we could also talk a lot about the business, how to run them. I mean, at that time I just started a small architectural company, and I often asked him, often look, how and what shall I do in the growth of the company, etc. He was in the same time maybe also more or less maybe somehow my consultant.
Was there a leader among the two of them?
No, that was very powerful in the way how we worked with them, because they were really they compensated a lot in each other's qualities and talents. She was even on the side when the concrete was poured, and would say, "I don't know if this is quality we would like." Um, well, came in 2 hours later or 4 hours later. She sometimes had to recognize something. She pointed me at on the location, and he was always keen on making sure that we would do an all round design. Uh, but she as well, like that even the tables and the furniture and the middle in the dining room are part of the, well, also in the working spaces, are part of the integral concrete structure we introduced for the whole house.
What I also want to know is that, this was 1993 when you started working on the house, and this was pretty much pre-computers day, right?
No, we that was the, we did, when we worked on the technical part of the house, the technical drawings. Let me quickly now look at. I want to make sure that I don't have the dates wrong.
On your website, it says from 93 to 98, and on MoMA site, it says from 93 to 99. So in some places, it says that it was built in 98, in some places in 99, but it started in 93.
Yeah, but that is correct. But I do believe that when we did the technical drawings, we were a little bit late. So the 1994, 95, maybe, or 1995. And that means that in that time we were working already. I mean, it was quite amazing. I think we were one of the first homes in Europe to work on our own 3D model techniques. We and, and the reason but why we did that was simply because of the complex geometry. So we did it on the computer. It was one of our first computers we bought to do the library. So
But the initial design, was it also done on computer or was it still done
no sketch.
sketched?
Yeah, everything was done by drawing, but the 3D model was made for the contractor so that he could do his casting in a very, the more simple way. And we helped them with color the production.
I'm asking this because the parametric design was still in its infancy. And for example, Columbia University Paperless Studio, that started in 95. And
Yeah, but that you see so that means that I mean, don't forget that was the time when I was also at Columbia.
so you were also part of that teaching, you were
Yes.
teaching with, Hani Rashid. Greg Lynn, so you were one of the teachers, and so, but by that time the house was already designed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was, yeah, but more or less, don't forget that this was the time when I could also show to my friends, listen, this is next to the Erasmus Bridge. This because the bridge we did also fully in the computer. And again, here we had developed our own 3D modeling techniques. It's very nice because the guy who did that here in the office, and that's not the end, but that was Ger. He was actually he was designing these 3D modeling techniques. So these guys are still in the office somewhere in America. Unbelievable, such a long time ago. But I'm interested in the fact that you mentioned the paperless. That was called the paperless studio from who did who run that now? It was not Honey Vichy. That was not Greg Lynn. It was someone else.
Well, Bernard Schumi was the dean, and there were Hani Rashid, Stan Allen.
Stan Allen was running that. Stan Allen set it up the studio,
Okay,
the computer studio, and under the leadership of Benettini.
yes, yes.
But it was quite, don't forget that period was, I think that, maybe write a book about this, or maybe we can talk about it one day. It's all period of, mm, call it new, the new wave thinkers in architecture, the ones you mentioned. We, we, um, we started up this dialogue about what what new tools could bring for new architectural effects and how that could stimulate the imagination of the role of the architect. You know what I mean? We didn't see the computer as all exciting as a tool alone, but as kind of a new way of how that could give architects new creative ideas and how could also possibly create new spatial effects in the way how we could design. And so I honestly I think that that is in these first signs you can test, you can taste, sorry, in the design of the Möbius House.
Yeah. I want to read a small passage. I interviewed Hani Rashid some years ago about that time, and it was a very exciting time. And he said, we were young, rebellious architects turning the world on its head. We were obsessed with fusing drawing and modeling into a single entity. Our quest became drawing on a model and modeling the drawings. The new digital tools enabled us precisely that. So, do you recognize that spirit of experimentation?
Oh yeah,
Did you go through similarly charged experience?
yeah. I suppose you. Yeah, yeah. And you maybe look up a project what is in Move. It's called the rubber mat. The rubber mat. Like a mat. And we in that time we were testing how programmatic changes and climate and already views could have a parametric effect onto each other, so that we could choose in the different external forces of computational design and the internal regulations of computational design. We could with that make parametric variant. And that, I'm talking really about 1998 or 1997 or something like that. So that, we really honestly were very early with parametric design.
And I wonder if there were many options for the design of the house.
Well, I mean, in the beginning were many, like we did, I think we had once a workshop in the office where we said to the whole office, let's have a half a day or day maybe even, because there were maybe only the 12 people in the north. And then I said, yeah, let's do a workshop for the whole day and then work on different variants on the diagram of the Möbius or something. And these options, I don't know if they've ever been published. I don't think so, but they were quite diverse. And at that time, I liked it always to look at these options because then I would take them home and I would sketch on them and then and then I would make with the model makers in quite a small model out of it. So I mean, you maybe have seen some of the earlier cardboard models. Actually, they're now owned by the MoMA Museum of Modern Art. And no, it was really a wonderful time. But the options were necessary. Don't forget the principle of working with mathematical organizational diagrams. In that time was for me coming out of a period where I searched the work of Kiesler. Think of the endless house of Kiesler.
Endless House.
The endless house. There's a lot, of course, to be found in Möbius House, referring back to Kiesler. Lautner, the work of Lautner has also influenced somewhere there. Because of his interest with how he combined, I can't remember now the name of the house, but within a house where the landscape grows almost into the house. I was very fascinated in the Situationists because the Situationists quite interested in knotting mathematical knotting techniques related to organizational principles. And I think the way how I use mathematical models in architecture in that time, the knotting ideas were related to the way how I believe that could um, given um, could, could given or yeah, I call it a design model or editing model for the way how you could work with parametric principles. So that you take all the aspects of that what you define in the surroundings, the way you deal with the program, that you take that into one gesture into the design. And don't forget, the Möbius was for me not so much impressive because of the 8 loop, but you have seen once the diagram I drew. Right? Look at yeah. So if this is actually see what I'm doing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, this. So you see the 4 quadrants of the landscape. And then you have 4 really literally, we have 4 this typical different types of landscape. And my argument is if you would walk in the house in a kind of clockwise order, but then but with merge I mean, we could connect it also to the north, the south, the east, and the west of the house. By north, south, north, so the north, south, and the east and the west. But we could connect it also to a time machine. But that you walk in time through different moments in the day through the house. So I said, yeah, in the afternoon we could actually have the work experience for, with a nice going down view of him in the house and she for the afternoon. So for let's say more in the morning that you have an upcoming storm or whatever. And in the living room, you would have something combined on the lower level, So all these kind of things were part of this mathematical principle. And the idea of the double-sided qualities of the Möbius belt, we have 2 sides. What goes from the outside in, outside in, inside out. That idea that was literally done also with the two materials of the house, the glass and the concrete. So the glass moves really literally inside the house, but that by sometimes you have an internal facade between, the staircase and the living room so that they could actually see their kids coming home
And you can see it.
and you can open it. All this kind of bit. And the same with the concrete. So the outside concrete went in with this.
And let me ask you, there were many different versions and different options, but it was always based on the Möbius strip, right? That
Yeah, the principle.
that's
Principle, the Möbius was always kind of, you can also put it in the layout.
and where did that idea come from originally? To use that as a model.
It came from my interest in mathematics already for a long time. Still using a lot of mathematical models in my work, but not so obvious. But um, it came from my interest in science also. Don't forget, when we talked in the time when we were as a team together, like Franklin and Annie Rashid, and also a little bit also Alejandro Seiro. Um, I was often, I was reading everything around complexity theory, chaos theory. That was, I was really interested in this idea that that mathematical models could combine complexity and in the same time reduce complexity.
And was it the first project where you were able to use Möbius strip, or did you use it the first one? So in a way, it became your manifesto. This project.
Yeah, yeah, the houses, and I think that's why it's always been so appreciated because it gave me also my but this marks my full career on architecture in a way because I still believe that architecture needs to be defined through its organizational principles. As you know, yeah, I told you last time. So it's the organization what makes the architect, the way how you experience it, how you walk through the art building, how it gives you your insight, and from the organization onwards, then the house needs to fall onto its place. I'm not I don't believe that image making from the outside is the key of art. I've never believed it. Architecture needs to be coming out of its essence of the way how it is ordered.
Let me ask you about the house. If you could talk a little bit about your favorite moments in the house.
Yeah, my favorite moments
Right.
are, when you like the house, it was very interesting. It hangs a little bit of a big cantilever where, let's say, it hangs over the landscape and you enter it from the lower part and you come up. And that moment of coming up and then walking towards the living room and that the landscape then, you know, opens up to you, that's a very spectacular moment of the way how you, in a way, step into the landscape, see the house. So, and what for me is, I told you about the nine, sorry, the 7, the 9, and the 11 degrees angle.
Yes, there are just three.
Yes, but so the house, if you think from the outside and inside, all complex in the pictures, and if you walk through it, that it gives this calmness. That is what I find also quite you really experience that. And don't forget, the incredible complex furnitures we brought. We printed the table in the living room from the fireplace onwards is having a canton almost of 8 meters. It's unbelievable. It flies. So the dining table, all these kind of special elements are very, very.
It's cantilevered, right?
Yeah, get okay.
Yeah. If you look at the text of Deleuze,
Yeah,
he talks a lot about the idea of radical freedom. Nothing is stable, constantly unfolding, rethinking stability and eternity, emphasizing movement, the state of being in flux, possibility of newness. And so all of that is experienced quite literally in the house.
I mean, of course, at that time, I was already a fan. fan of philosophy, or still I'm fascinated in philosophers. But in that time, Deleuze had such an influence on this kind of young generation of computational designers, because Deleuze was actually defining spaces far more differently than any other space-time thinker. Like we go back to the modernist Le Corbusier or whatever, with everything was space-time oriented, and don't forget. What was this? Gideon, who thought about space-time and architecture. That was also all about the linearity of the spatial experience of architecture. And the Möbius House gives you is doing more, because it's giving you a kaleidoscopic effect of a total experience of space-time, as if you are in many times in the same time.
Would you say, this is something that just occurred to me. Would you say that a early 20th century house, such as a house by Melnikov in Moscow, the Möbius House brought some of those ideas into kind of late 20th century time by making it much more kind of, this continuum, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think don't forget.
This is geometrically, it's kind of similar. It also has number 8 in plan.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Two cylinders, two intersecting cylinders from late 1920s.
But I know the house, and of course, don't forget that all the Russian thinkers from Leonidov to all of them, Chenikov, the older. I studied them all, but I this house particularly, I don't know for sure if I really looked at that, but
Yeah, when you go inside, it has an array of hexagon windows. There are dozens of small
oh
windows,
yeah, 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 yeah. No, no, I don't know. I don't.
but in plan, it's two intersecting circles that make number 8.
Yeah, but I don't forget. Um, There, the number 8 is actually integrated as almost in the outline of the building and the facade of the building. Here, in my case, that's not. In my case, it's more the inner part of the, and then the landscape, or in the house, or geometrical changes in the ceiling and volumes above it is is actually more integrated in the number 8, or the module structure.
In some of the photographs, I've seen columns in the house, and some of them are actually very close to each other. What was the reason to combine these two support systems?
Because I've always I've always been interested in columns, and but don't forget, whenever I can, then of course I also support, like in a one of the most spectacular Möbius or kind of trifold organizational buildings I did, was the most ultimate mathematical effect of that is it we found in the Arnhem train station, where you have only one column, but with a twist, what carries like a mushroom, the whole structure. But 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 don't forget, here I needed that column because of the enormous amount of volume we played on top of the house, and I've never liked one columns idea. When especially in Howard, because here we had the view of the landscape, etc. So I turned the two columns in order to have so that you can always look through the columns to the landscape. And I made them furniture out of these columns. I really no, I think that they are elements where you can place things in the column.
And after the house was completed, have you discussed any aspects and particularities of living in the house with the clients?
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, no. I mean, those.
Any interesting feedback?
Yeah, I did that. For instance, like I mean, we were quite, I mean, the whole curtain design was unique. The carpets, the chairs, furniture, everything, even the trail to the bed. I mean, we discussed all of that. I'd have a very special bathrooms with a door with always through the landscape. I mean, they were, they have a stainless steel toilet. Of course, in the beginning they thought, wow, that's a bit harsh, but they everything was unique. Every detail of this house is unique, and don't forget everything I had learned from houses that I already had studied endlessly, like the Zone de Tver, for example, one of my favorite houses, or the houses of Lautner, or looking up even when I was a young kid, I had already studied so in detail all these houses, and don't forget the client was saying to me that they thought that every day gave them a new life because it was always different.
It was unlike yesterday.
Yeah, done like yesterday.
Every day
Light and
like yesterday. Yeah.
seasons of the landscape. They are still living there. If you would go there today, and you would like to visit the house.
Yeah, I would.
You come next time. You will be shocked because it's exactly as it was. Right.
There are 3 levels, right, in the house.
Yeah, there's a very small lower level for the guests. Then the bigger major level on the top of that, where he, where the family lived, and he had his studio. And then on the upper level is the two kids' rooms, and then the room where her was worked with.
And I noticed when I saw it on the Google map, I noticed there is another house next to it, which looks also quite experimental. Would Is it yours? No? No. It's just it's very difficult to see what it is because it's not the sharp image, but it's right next to it. I think it's right the neighboring house. So it's not you. So how would you say this house made an effect on your subsequent career and projects? What was the major influence of that house?
Major influence, major. So this house. Also, don't forget that the house had much stronger effect on in the field of architecture than, let's say, the Erasmus Bridge, because the bridge is quite an symmetric thing, and it's on both sides the same. And the Möbius is so experimental, it's so diverse from everything what was in that time happening in architecture. That got a lot of feedback and interest for a long time. But still, when it is published, and I get always comments about, oh, this is the house I had to analyze in my studies and whatever. So yeah, I mean it had a major effect on myself, but also on the field, and I never expected that. No, I mean, you never can expect anything. But and I always say icons don't exist because they grow over time.
Why did it take such a long time to complete the building? What was the main reason for that?
I I think for that reason I want to go back to the dates, because I do think there is something wrong about the date 1993. I think we started a bit later.
93.
Right.
93.
Yeah, but I'm afraid that it was not. Maybe I want to check it because the house was built in 2 years time. In a way, maybe it took a while before we started to design it. Maybe I met him in '93, then we started maybe with the design in 1994. Then all the drawings were done in maybe until 1995. So maybe the design process was quite long. But let me double check it.
And once you had the design done, was it executed the exact same way? Were there any changes? No changes.
No, that was the wonderful aspect of this. We build it as we had it in mind. So we have to slowly stop. Yeah, but but if I like that you know a lot about that history of the earlier. Do you know that I had a very interesting collaboration between Bracklin, Jesse Rice, myself, and then Alejandro Zaire, because we as a team worked on the World Trade Center tower.
Oh yes, United Architects.
Yeah, nobody, almost nobody knows anymore that we were that team, and that we were quite up high. We were, I think, number 4 or something. The winning of the group.
You were in the finalists.
Then finally,
Yeah. You were actually the one who presented the project, right?
got together with Craig Lynn, and I presented the project.
I was actually in the room. I saw it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You were there in that time too?
Yeah, this was the day when I started actually writing, and I interviewed Daniel Libeskin the next day after the presentations of the World Trade Center schemes, and that became my very first interview. So this was I think this was a year after 9/11. This was a year more than a year, a little more than a year. This was, I think, in December 2002.
Yeah, interesting, but that's good to hear. And I do believe that it was a very exciting time, very exciting.
Yeah.
And we were still kids in a way, and yeah, we all yeah, we were the in that time the anarchists or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
The New York Five, and the whole generation of what was it was an important exhibition or event called of where Zaha co-created what was Mark Wickley organized, but together with Philip Johnson. What was the name of that exhibition?
Oh, the deconstructivist architecture.
Yes, yeah. So that I think that is the last group of recognizable architects who have been named as a team. But we, as the way where I come from and where uh, Honey and Greg and everyone came from, I mean, have never been recognized. But I like it a lot that you do that. I think that's good that would be maybe one day, another day also an article, possible an article to write. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I should talk to Hani maybe because he's right here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's possible to.
Well, sometimes I think we should come together again, do an exhibition. Someone like Sanford Quinter always believed that we need to pull. He was always the one who promoted this group a lot. And anyway, but we thought let's talk about it later. I have to run.
Okay,
Mike.
okay, Ben.
Ciao.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Ciao. Vladimir.
Bye bye. Thank you.